So, Nama 59. Then verse 12. Okay, so verse 12. हिरण्यगर्भः शिशिरः तपनो भास्करो रविः अग्निगर्भोदिते पुत्रः शङ्खः शिशिरनाशनः हिरण्यगर्भः शिशिरः तपनो भास्करो रविः अग्निगर्भो अदिते पुत्रः शङ्खः शिशिरनाशनः ॐ हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः ॐ शिशिराय नमः ॐ तपनाय नमः ॐ भास्कराय नमः ॐ रवये नमः ॐ अग्निगर्भाय नमः ಅದರಿಗೆ பார்த்தோம். Next வந்து அதிதே புத்திராய நமः. Aditi is one of the wives of Kashyapa Rishi, right? Diti and Aditi. So he is born to he's the son of Aditi. So Aditya. In fact, there are 12 Adityas. Dwadasha Adityas Chalva. He is one of the Adityas. So it doesn't mean always Aditya means son. Aditya also means the son of Aditi. And there are 12 of them. There are 12 Devatas. So, but he is being one of the son, and somehow the name Aditya has become synonymous to the sun god. Because he is one. It's sometimes like this. It is the son who glorifies, because of whom the mother is glorified. He becomes known as the only son. Right? So that is something correct.
ஒரு ஆட் இருந்தது அர்ஜுன் அம்மா யாரு
அப்படியா?
I think it was for some milk or something. I can't remember, but
ஆரோக்கிய பால் நினைக்கிறேன் அந்த
ஆரோக்கிய பால் correct.
Oh, okay. So என்ன வரும்? What will be there in the ad?
I think that child is very active and அப்புறம் யாரு அம்மா அப்படின்னு something along those lines.
Actually அதே மாதிரி தான் ஆஞ்சநேயா, அஞ்சனி புத்ரா ஆஞ்சநேயா. So the name Anjaneya, she is known, she is very popular. Anjani is known because of Anjaneya, right? So because the sorry ji,
Partha பிருத்துவோட பையன் Partha.
Correct, Partha. So the madri Kunti had so many other sons, 2 other sons rather, but yet the other 2 are not referred to as Partha so much, and he is referred to as Partha. So somehow the son who's glorious, who's popular, the name of the mother gets associated with him. So that way, although Aditi has many other sons, and they are also known as Adityas, Surya Bhagavan being the more glorious one and the more effulgent and the famous one, Aditya is stuck to. His name has become synonymous to Aditya that way. So Adite Putra, and so one of the meanings is Diti. Diti, if you look up, it means that to decay, and Aditi is to, which is why Diti and Aditi are 2 wives of Kashyapa, is what it's shown that in the Puranic literature. Diti gives rise to Asuras, and Aditi gives rise to Devatas, right? And so he is known as Adite Putra. There is another meaning of Adite we saw in one of the earlier verses. The earth is also known as Adite. Adite is also reference to earth. But in this case, it may not be appropriate to call him as the son of earth. It can be in a way, because his presence, so the effect of the sun is present. It's like saying child is the son of man, Have you heard of this saying before? They say the child is the son of man. The man on the uppercase la poduva M. It means if you look at man as a principle, the child is sorry. No, I think the saying is slightly different. Maybe you'll look up to see that. But what it means is the principle is present. The principle is present in that substance. So when you say is Adite Putraha, is son is the father of man. Yeah, Kalpaka. You're right. Son is the father of man, and then man is generally put as an uppercase M. And it means to say that the presence of the son makes an individual as a father. So the father, I guess somebody is is telling my mother, I told her, because I'm the firstborn, I said, you are mother because of me. because of the son, you get the status of a mother. Because of the child, you get the status of a father or mother. Until then, you're either a husband, you're a son, you're a daughter, you're any other, you're just a person, you're a male, female. But the position of a father or a mother is given by the child. So the importance of that role is established in the progeny. So which means in the same way here, in a way to look at it, Adite Putraha, if you're saying he's the son, if one way to look at it is to say that Surya is the son of earth. If Adite also means earth, Adite also means earth, we saw in another Nama. It means to say that the essence of Surya, the meaning of what Surya is because of earth. If earth didn't exist the way it exists now with all conscious beings and all, and by earth, it's always not just, as I mean to say, it's earth is in the Vedic literature or in our scriptural language, earth doesn't mean this thing, bhuloka. It's easier to address it as bhuloka because it doesn't mean necessarily the planet Earth. Bhuloka is the material universe. So the material universe, because it is there, sun has a meaning, sun has value. Correct? Sun has a value. Sun, if it's being in isolation, there's no value to it. Like Brahman, Swami Sarvapriyananda will say that Brahman is the most useless thing. Brahman, Parabrahman is the most useless thing. Because it's of no use. You can't transact with it. You cannot tell, oh Brahman, give me a great job. Oh Brahman, get me a good house. Oh Brahman, you can't go and pray because Brahman is essentially useless that way. It does not transact. It's the principle. It does not transact. But Ishvara has value because we propitiate. In fact, this is represented in the Vedic literature very nicely, is the Devatas have value because we offer oblations to them. We offer oblations to them. We do yajna, we do puja to the Devatas. Therefore, they have value. They have value. They don't have an intrinsic value. They have value because we value them. And this is what Krishna showed in his when Indra, there were people who were all the Govardhana episode of Krishna, where people were all afraid and they were doing yajna to Indra. And Krishna comes and stops and says, "Why are you doing it out of fear? You don't have to propitiate to these deities out of fear." And then he stops the yajna that they are doing to Indra. Says, no, we can't. He will then get furious. Indra will get furious and so on and so forth. What do you mean? He exists because of you. You are giving him the energy. You are giving him the power. So you don't have to fear him. It is a transactional engagement that you are having. So after he stops, and then Indra sends out torrential rain and lightning and all of that, and then he lifts Govardhana and protects the villagers there. But what it means to show is that the value of that substance, that Surya Bhagavan, for instance, in this case, comes from the fact that we propitiate, we benefit from it, hence it, and we look up to it, hence it has value. Right? Like saying sun is the father of man. So the position of that value. So in the same way, when it's Aditya Putra, we can look at it that way to say that Surya Bhagavan has value because of Bhuloka. Because in the Bhuloka, we are experiencing the value of the sun, hence he has value. That is one way of looking at it. Shankha, Shankhaya Namaha. One who is the embodiment of bliss. Shankha usually also is the, you're familiar with Shankha, the conch. It usually also represents sound, the principle of sound, right? And sound is the first element that came out in creation. If you look at the process of creation, according to the Sankhya philosophy, the first thing that came out was sound, Shabda. The first Tanmatra, Shabda. So Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasagandha. That sequence, creation happened. So Shabda is the most subtlest form of creation. The subtlest expression of creation is Shabda. In fact, if we look at what science is telling, those who are familiar with the Big Bang theory, they don't say the big light. It's called as Big Bang. The reason it's called as Big Bang was the time when universe was created, there was a bang. There's a huge explosion. And it's called a bang because sound came out first. Sound was the first, most subtlest form of expression of creation. When you say sound, it doesn't necessarily mean the sound that we hear, right? Sound means vibration. In Lalita Sahasranama, it talks about 4 different kinds of shabda, sound. What are they? Para pratyakchiti rupa, para pratyakchiti rupa, pashyanti
Paradevata, Madhyama Vaikari Rupa, Bhakta Manasa Hamsika.
Bhakta Manasa Hamsika. Thank you, Kalpa. Para pratyakchiti rupa, Pashyanti Paradevata, Madhyama Vaikari Rupa, Bhakta Manasa Hansika. So Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikari. These are 4 levels of sound. And what we are speaking and hearing is the Vaikari level of sound. The most subtlest level of sound is Para. Then you have Pashyanti, then Madhyama, and so on. Right? So Shankha, Shankhaya Namaha. So he is the most subtlest. He exists in the most subtlest expression of creation. Shishira Nashana Yanamaha. So Shishira is, it is also in the previous Nama we saw it is coolness. It is, it's a certain winter. Shishira Ruto means winter. So certain coolness. One way is to look at it as coolness. The other way to also look here, Nashana, when you're talking about Nashana, Shishira Nashana, which means Agastya Rishi is referring to Surya Bhagavan as the one who removes laziness. And Surya Bhagavan is directly shining through your windows in the early morning, like in Dubai at 5 a.m. My daughter will tell, please put the screen. I need to sleep some more time. But Surya Bhagavan is coming there to, as what? As Shishira Nashana. He is coming to remove that laziness. He's coming to remove the lethargy. And it is true. In fact, you see in countries where The value of this, my daughter realized when she went to London, because in London there are so many months of very little sun, several months of very little sun, particularly during the winter season, very little sun, and you feel depressed. There are countries in the world or cities in the world where there is very little sun, and for long periods of time, they have actually recorded more suicides and depression cases in such places. There are recorded medical depression cases in such places.
There was a British colleague of mine who said, those kings were, they depressed. அதனால தான் வந்து they were, conquering the world. They were going conquering.
Desperate, they didn't know what to do.
They didn't know what to do.
Right, possible. So the minds become very lazy and dull. And Surya Bhagavan, the energy that we receive from Surya is extremely important for us to operate effectively, which is why the whole the tropical the places, India and all, one of the reasons why we have to consider ourselves as blessed, the land of India, is because we get sufficient sunlight. And there are places where the weather is very nice. Like, I mean, of course, we know places like Bangalore, and some of these places are, the weather is generally very nice. It's not extreme. There are places where it's extreme. But then the point is that in all these places, you get sufficient sunlight. Of course, it's not scorching like places like the Middle East or Africa and all of that, right? Of course, nowadays there is a problem. Kalpaka, you're saying King George had syphilis because of the cold. So to prove his manliness, he went around conquering the world. Possible. So Shishira Nashana is Surya Bhagavan's aspect, which comes out and removes all dullness and removes all lethargy. And we have seen this in our own lives. On a daily basis, we see this. When you go out, you go to a gym and you do your running and your exercise and all that is one thing. But you go out and go for a walk is a very different experience, right? Directa, when the sunlight falls on our body, it's a very different experience. So he is Shishira Nashana. Oh, this verse we saw, Hiranyagarbhaya Namaha, Shishiraya Namaha, Tapanaya Namaha, Om Bhaskaraya Namaha, Om Ravaye Namaha, Om Agnigarbhaya Namaha, Om Adite Putraya Namaha, Om Shankhaya Namaha, Om Shishiranashanaya Namaha. Vyomanatasthamobhedi Rigyajussamapāragah Ghanavrishtirapamitro Vindyavithi Plavangamaha. Vyomanatasthamobhedi Rigyajussamapāragah Ghanavrishtirapamitro Vindyavithi Plavangamaha. Om Vyomanathaya Namaha, Om Tamobhedine Namaha, Om Rigyajussamapāragaya Namaha, Om Ghanavristaye Namaha, Om Apamitraya Namaha, Om Vindhyavithi Plavangamaya Namaha. So Vyomanathaya Namaha, one who's emerged, one from whom space has emerged. So we had a long discussion on space a few weeks back. So here it is expressing that aspect of space that he is, which is all pervasive. Vyoma, the root word means to be all pervasive. Vyoma means that space, but Vyoma also means all pervasive. Vyomavat vyapta dehaya. Vyapta is to be pervasive. Vyoma is space, so all pervasive. Vyoma is like all pervasive. So he is Vyomanathaya Namaha, and he is Vyomanatha means Natha, which means he is the Lord. He is the Lord of Vyoma. He is the Lord of space. So if you think you're perceiving space, then wherever space is, he is. That is what it means to say. So wherever space is, he is, because he is the Lord of space. And why space? Again, space is the subtlest of the Pancha Mahabhutas. As sound is the subtlest of expression and creation, space and sound are related. As how sound came as the first tanmatra in Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, equivalent Pancha Mahabhutas, it is sound. The container of sound, space. The container of sound is space. The container of rasa, Shabda Sparsha, touch is air. The container of Sparsha Rupa is fire. The container of rasa is jala, water. The container of gandha is earth. So Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, Akasha Vayu Agnihi Apa Prithvi. So space is the subtlest of the Pancha Mahabhutas, or the manifest universe, the material universe. And he is the Lord of space, which means through him space emerged. And here the point to be noted is it's not necessarily, we should always bring in this aspect that we are not only talking about the Surya Bhagavan that you see here as the sun who's shining in the morning, and suddenly sun which is not there in the night. We're not talking about that sun. We are talking about the principle of Surya, principle of the sun. And that is always existing. Earth is the one that's going around. Bhuloka, the earth is going around, but sun is always existing. So it's like that. The consciousness, the self, the Jyotihi that is there, which is the Surya within us, the sun, it is always there. And the whole expression of space is coming from there. Our understanding of space, if we understand space, is because space is emerging from here. When you go into complete silence, you go into complete absorption, you go into complete sleep, you go into suppose somebody goes into the ICU and is on anesthesia. Where is space and time? There is no, excuse me, space and time for that person has collapsed. Which means space and time can collapse, but the person can still be there. That individual consciousness is still there. Which means space comes after you become conscious. Only when consciousness rises, then space, air, fire, water, earth, and all that come out. So space becomes a product of your consciousness, like everything else. And why space is because also, in a way, from space everything comes. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there's a phrase that goes, Akashat Vayuhu, Vayur Agnihi, Agnir Apaha, Abhyaf Prithvi, Prithvi Oshadaya, and Abdi Pogod. Prithivya Annam, Annat Oshadaya, Oshadat. So it'll come to show how the whole creation happens, the material creation. So from Akashad Vayuhu, Akasha is space, Akashad Vayuhu, Vayur Agni, Agnir Apaha, Abhyaf Prithvi. So from space everything comes, which means space is subtlest, but then consciousness is even more subtle. Consciousness is the lord of space. Only when you're conscious, everything else happens, everything else occurs. Those who have been to Chidambaram Kovil, in the Nataraja Kovil in Chidambaram, you will notice how the sun, the puja at night, if you've been there, you will notice that in that area there are other temples for the Mahabhutas. So Chidambaram is space, Akasha Tattva. So like that, Kanchipuram is Prithvi Tattva, Tiruvannamala is Agni Tattva, Kalahasti is Vayu Tattva, Jambukeshwara is Jala Tattva. And the way Chidambaram works is, it's the first temple to open in the morning and is the last temple to close among these 5. Because the whole idea of avyakta to vyakta is space is first, it opens. After space opens, Chidambaram opens, everybody else will open. And after everybody closes, then Chidambaram will close. Another night in the night the puja that they do, the Dikshidhar will come around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 10:30 or so. 10:30 p.m. They'll go around and then do a puja and then close the Sannidhi. Pretty late. But it's very beautiful. And this concept is embedded into the whole tradition there, see? So space is the subtlest, but then consciousness, without consciousness in space doesn't have any value. You don't know, you can't experience space unless you're conscious. So Vyomanathaya Namaha. This consciousness is the Lord of space. Tamo Bhedine Namaha destroys ignorance. Tamo Bhedine. Tamaha, ignorance. Bhedine, to destroy. Rig Yajus Samaparagaya Namaha. So Rig, Yaju, Sama. Usually in all Vedic literature, you will see that although we know there are 4 Vedas, you'll only see references made to Rig, Yaju, Sama. Even in Purusha Suktam, there is a phrase, Rig, Yajus. But the phrase.
Bhagavad Gita, I think Krishna says he's Sama Veda among Vedas. Yeah?
No,
among Vedas.
Correct. There he says, among the Vedas, I am Sama Veda. So that is to show the importance of Sama Veda. That's glorifying Sama Veda. But usually in the literature, you will see whenever there is a Vedas referred as, they refer to as Rig, Yaju, Sama. Atharvana Veda is not generally mentioned like that, because it's an auxiliary Veda that came out separately. But the important thing is everything pretty much originated from Rig Veda. Rig Veda is the first original Veda, and a lot of Yajus, Sama and Atharvana contain phrases from Rig Veda. So Rig Veda is the original Veda. So whenever there is a reference of Rig Veda, Rig, Yajus, Sama, understand that it's all the Vedas, the whole Vedic literature, the whole corpus of Vedas. Vedas with its Vedangas, with the Upanishads, with everything. All of that is Rig, Yajus, Sama. So it's a representation of all of that. So because the question may go that where is Atharvana Veda? I don't see Atharvana Veda, right? It's not. Atharvana Veda was a much later composition, and it is also an offshoot which has a combination of Rig, Yajus, Sama. So what it says is Rig, Yajus, Sama Paragaya Namaha. He is the culmination of all the Vedas, which means, what is the culmination of all the Vedas? A quiz question, is it? What is the culmination of all Vedas? Is Vedanta.
Vedanta.
Correct. So culmination of all Vedas is Vedanta. So that means he is Vedanta. He is where all the Vedas point to at the end of the day, where it completely points to.
Is it the same thing that comes in Vishnu Sahasranamam and the Adela Palashrutila? Vedanta ko Brahmanasya. Is it related or is it?
Vedanta go Brahmanasya.
Kshatriyo Vijay Bhave.
Vedanto. No, this is not that reference here.
Okay.
Here the reference is to say Surya Bhagavan is Vedanta himself. He points, he symbolizes the whole Vedic understanding. He symbolizes the Vedic understanding. So which means if you look at Surya Bhagavan, the whole knowledge of Vedanta is there. See, whereas there's a very beautiful conversation that Jiddu Krishnamurti had with Swami Krishnananda. Swami Krishnananda of Shivananda Ashram, Jiddu Krishnamurti. And Swami Krishnananda is the Vedanta school. So he was talking about Vedanta and all. And Jiddu Krishnamurti is not of a particular school. He is of the teaching that you are your own teacher, you are your own light, you are your own guru. He's that kind of a. So he empowers every individual to think for yourself, and you search your truth on your own. The path to truth is an individual path for every individual. So that is. So he's a great philosopher, Jiddu Krishnamurti. So in this conversation, he talks about Swami Krishnananda talks about Vedanta, how Vedanta has the knowledge of Brahman, of Atman, of Satchidananda, Swarupa, of all of this, Chaitanya, all of that he kind of mentions all that. And Jiddu Krishnamurti says, what does Vedanta mean? He says Vedanta means is the last part of the Vedas. So then Jiddu Krishnamurti gives a very nice twist to the way to perceive this. He says, most of our problems is because of knowing Araghorai, which means you end up knowing things here and there a little bit, and that knowledge holds us bounded in a certain way. Which means it doesn't, a lot of times the knowing something, we don't allow experience to happen to us. We restrict experience to happen because we know, right? See, for example, if you go to a mountaintop, you go for the first time to a beautiful mountaintop, and you suddenly see the sun rising, and you're completely awestruck with that beauty. How beautiful our sunrise are. So the whole experience is so exhilarating, and you're experiencing that whole the colors of the sky and the beautiful sun rising, and you're on the top, this breeze, nobody there. It's beautiful experience, right? Now what has happened? This has become knowledge. The next time you go to the mountaintop, you will want the same experience to happen, but it will not happen. Because there is anticipation, there is comparison. You're trying to recreate that same feeling because you've now gathered some knowledge from the outside. I mean, you gathered that knowledge has become an impression, and you're now not open to new experience. So something that you've experienced, and this happens even when you do meditation, for instance, when you do meditation, there are days when it'll be so beautiful, so blissful. And then we'll try to recreate that. A lot of times we'll try to sit down and recreate. Today I also want like that. But something else may be happening. Some other process may be there and waiting to express itself through you. But we may not be open for it. And that's because we become, knowledge becomes this kind of, this impressions that we create becomes a hurdle for new understanding to come in. So in this context, Jiddu Krishnamurti will tell Swami Krishnananda, you're saying Veda means all knowledge. So can you see that Vedanta means cessation of knowledge? So I found that very beautiful. See, Vedanta, we say that the greatest knowledge is in the last part of the Vedas. It is Vedanta, and also it is the essence of all of Vedas. The whole essence, the soul of the Veda is in the Vedanta. That is one way of looking at it. But also to look at how knowledge restricts us from allowing us for living in the present moment, experiencing the world fresh, new every time. So which means you also have to keep dying to the knowledge that you're gathering. We are gathering, the knowledge that I'm talking about is the living in the past kind of knowledge, the memory. Whether good or bad, we carry this memory, and our next experience is always compared to our experiences of the past. That is why you look at a child, it is always open to new experiences because it doesn't gather so much at that young age. எதை பார்த்தாலும் அப்படி திருன்னு முழிக்கும். It'll keep having that inquisitive eye because it's constantly absorbing. Everything feels new. Everything feels, and you give the same doll 20 times, it will still look at it like that. So we lose that innocence of being able to just look at something. Today, I've been living in a house, for example, for 20 years. Can I open my window and look at the same tree with the same joy and the same awe and see the birds coming and sitting there? Our mind immediately will say, அதே மரம் தானே இது, ஏன் இது கட் பண்ணி புது மரம் நடலாமே அப்படின்னு தோணும். We'll always want some kind of change or the other, right? So this memory that we keep creating, the dropping of that and being able to experience life the way it is presenting itself to us, that is also Vedanta. So Vedanta is also this accumulation and gathering, adukku or antam, to give an end to it, end to gathering. Because even the knowledge that the scriptures point to, it doesn't say that Brahman or Atman is a thing. It's not a thing. It's pointing to a principle which you had experienced here. And when will it flower? When will it explode inside? You don't know. It doesn't have to, that realization suddenly doesn't have to come inside a temple because it's a holy place. No. It can come in a smashana also. Where did it occur for Arunagirinatha? Arunagirinatha, the whole experience, the whole self-realization happened when his sister told Katu Vachan to him, we know that story, right? Where Arunagirinatha, the sister told him that if you're so desperate for physical pleasure, use my body. The sister told him. And then he was shocked. And then he ran up and he tried to jump from atop a small hill in Tiruvannamalai. And there is a mandapam built for him there. Realization can happen through anything, anywhere, but we have to be ready. We have to be prepared for that, right? So but that preparedness, if we fill ourselves so much, it's like a Zen story where a student goes to a teacher and he gives him a cup to fill. The student says that, oh teacher, I want to learn, I want to learn, I want to learn. And then the teacher pours tea into his cup. And then he keeps pouring and it keeps overflowing. And then tells the teacher, stop, what are you doing? This cup cannot take any more tea. Then the teacher looks at him, same as with you. Even in our Upanishads, you see, when Indra goes to one of the rishis to learn Brahmagyanam, Rishi tells him, you go for 1 year, you do sweeping. For 1 year, then you do this work. Then next 1 year, he says, go do this work. Some mundane work. Because by doing that, you try to clear yourself of any clutter that you carry, then you can receive wisdom. So, Rigyaju Samaparagaya Namaha is, when we are saying is the culmination of the Vedas or Vedanta and all that, also means that when we look at the sun, we should be able to look at it with a fresh new perception every time. Every time we should feel that joy when you look at him. Right? Porandhathilerundhe onne paathan iruken, what is the point ingra mari illa, right? It is today the sun, like you are new, like you are you have a new life today and a new presence today. Everything else around you is like that. It's fresh. It has come alive today for you. So we look at all of that with the same eye, with an eye of receiving life as it is today. So that is also Vedanta. So you come to you don't carry that baggage of memory, of the past experiences, all of that with you. We drop that, we give it an anta, and we look at everything afresh. So he is Samaparagaya Namaha. And he is also one who's pointed out in all the Vedas, particularly in the Jnana Kanda, wherever there is reference made to Atman, Brahman, Purusha, the Tattvam, that is him. So that is what this means. Okay, so we've gone past. We will.
I consider every day as a system reset. And the experience in especially when you want to meditate, as the day grows by, we have so much of experiences that clutters our mind. And the system reset, when you go to sleep and get back, when you get up, I find I always try to remember that it's a system reset. My memory is all clear. It has no experiences right now. So then you go to meditate or do something. Early morning, they say Brahma Murta.
Correct.
And the Sushupti all experience.
Everything. Absolutely.
When you look at the same thing again, you feel as if something new.
Correct. Absolutely. It may be the same sound, but your experience is very different each time.
Different. As if it is a new one.
Absolutely. So which is true, which is what also Mamat here, so that Vedanta also means that we should also understand Vedanta is not the literature or the scripture. Vedanta is the understanding that you drop all of this, you bring it to an anta, so that the experience of Vedanta happens within. So that experience, when it happens afresh, anew all the time, then you're living in the present. You are open and you're living life in the present, right? So, so that way it's a very beautiful nama. Om Rigyaju Samaparagaya Namaha. So, so what did we do today? Vyomanathastamo bhedi Rigyaju Samaparagaha. Vyomanathaya Namaha. Om Tamo Bhedine Namaha. Om Rigyaju Samaparagaya Namaha. We did till there.
Time kukuda, that's what I thought now. Sleep and night sleep time goes very fast. When we are sleepless in the same night, the time goes very slow. Nama feel pannuvom. So the consciousness varumbodhu, we know the time is very big.
Absolutely.
That is
correct. Beautiful, ma. We'll pause here till that. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana Va Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yeti Samarpayami Sadashivaya Yeti Samarpayami Jagadambikaya Yeti Samarpayami Sadgurunatha Yeti Samarpayami. Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.